Maybe you've bought a new grinder and you want to know how to make it last a long time, or you just want to know how to get the most out of your grinder. In this video, I'm going to show you how to maintain your grinder and make it last as long as possible. The most important thing that you do is keep your grinder clean. Not only to keep it free from oils and coffee grounds that can gunk up the inside of your grinder, but also to keep your coffee tasting fresh, as a dirty grinder will carry the flavors of the previous beans that you've used. To do this, open up the grinder to reveal the bean chamber where the beans drop in and the burrs themselves. With a brush and a hoover, just brush off any coffee grounds either to the side or down the chute. And if there's any particularly stuck bits, then you can use a hoover to just vacuum those up. If the grinder looks particularly oily and dirty, then you can go around it with a damp cloth or just like a wet wipe or something, just to remove that layer of oil. Some oil is good for lubrication of the burrs and the grinder, but you don't want nasty oils that have oxidized and gone rancid. How often you clean your grinder depends on how often you use it. Now, ideally, the best practice would be to clean your grinder after every bag of coffee, just for the best flavor and to prevent build-up. But to be honest, it's kind of unrealistic. I don't do it myself, so I'm not going to come and tell you that you should be doing that. But what I would recommend is that you clean your grinder after every 3 or 4 bags of coffee, which if you're having a coffee every day, a coffee or two, then that's around about once a month. However, if you're using a dark roast primarily, then I recommend you clean your grinder more often, because dark roasts contain a lot more oils than other roast levels, and those oils go really rancid and nasty quite quickly. And it will taint the other coffees that you put through it. The second thing you should do, this is for people with cheap grinders, weak grinders, keep your dose to a minimum, so don't put too much coffee into the grinder in one go. The reason why is because you risk overheating the grinder, the motor inside, or worst case, seizing the burrs up completely. And this is particularly the case if you're using a fine grind size. How much coffee is too much, you might ask? Well, if I take my Wilfer Savart grinder at the back there and I turn it to a mocha pot grind setting, and I put, I don't know, I fill the whole thing up, the whole hopper, and I try to grind it through, it will seize up the burrs and it will overheat it. Of course, I'm not going to demonstrate that because that would be stupid, but you get the idea. And never use a light roast in a cheap grinder unless you know that it can take it, because a lot of light roasts tend to be very dense and these grinders just can't take it. So unless you've spent a lot of money on your grinder, which if you have, you shouldn't have this problem at all, I'd stay away from lighter roasts, because it's basically no different to trying to grind up stones. And finally, every now and then, whenever you go to clean the grinder or whatever, inspect the burrs of the grinder, the teeth. The reason why this is important is because as your grinder ages, as the burrs age, they become increasingly blunt. Not only does this mean more work for the motor, but also worse tasting coffee, because the burrs are changing from, as they get older, they're changing from cutting the coffee beans smoothly to just grinding them up and sort of smashing them to pieces instead. A quick way to test the sharpness of your burrs is if you take your fingernail and you run it across the blade, you should be able to cut a divot into your fingernail. And in general, that means that the burrs are sharp enough to grind effectively. Ideally, you should look to change the burrs on your grinder every 2-3 years, but if you're only having a coffee every now and then, it should be good for the lifetime of the grinder, so you shouldn't have to worry about that unless you want to keep your burrs like tip-top shape, or you just want to replace them for better burrs. Just a little side note, while these tips and practices will improve the longevity of your grinder and maximize the time and efficiency that you'll get out of it, the only real way to improve the longevity of your grinder, the only real way, is to buy a good high quality grinder in the first place, because it's very true that you get what you pay for when it comes to grinders. So you should never cheap out on your grinder. I think if you're going to buy a grinder, if you're looking to buy one, you should definitely go all out if you can afford to. I know that money nowadays in particular is not very easy to come by, kind of hard to put lots of money towards one thing, but if you could put money towards anything in a coffee setup, it would be the grinder. Like this grinder here, £500. This thing's probably going to last me 10, 15 years, but that's because I paid such a high price for it. And you can't expect that kind of lifetime, that kind of longevity in a £50, £100 grinder. But you work with what you've got, and if you put these tips into practice and you do so consistently, then you will definitely extend the lifespan of your grinder and you'll be able to experience good coffee for quite a long time. And that's everything. That's the end of this video. Have you bought a new grinder recently? What did you buy? How much did you pay for it? I'd love to know. Leave me a comment down in the comment section. And if you liked this video and want to see similar content in the future, subscribe, turn on notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.